To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
What is it about Disney that makes us happy? Is it the magical whistle as your ticket is scanned at the main gate? Is it the seafaring smell of pirate water? Or is it charting a course to a land where you may never grow up? Whether it's singing a familiar song, watching a movie, or riding your favorite attraction for the 100th time, Disney undeniably has a way to warm our hearts, believe in magic, and bring joy into our lives. This is Main Gate Magic, a podcast where we break down and discuss the infectious happiness, delight, and thrill of all things Disney. Good evening, everybody. This is Jason from Main Gate Magic. It is 6:05. I know we're starting a little bit late, so I do apologize. It is Tuesday, February 4th. We're already in February, guys. Do you believe that?
I know.
Yeah. Before we know it, it's going to be like 2030 in February as well. Yeah. So happy Groundhog Day to my two co-hosts, Leia and Thomas. How you guys doing? I know Groundhog Day was this last weekend. How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm doing better than Tom Hanks in Groundhog. Is it Tom Hanks? No, Bill Murray in Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. Just can't wait to get back to work at Disney and see the latest and greatest.
Definitely. Leia, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Nothing.
Good.
Yeah, good. How about you?
Doing okay. I am just patiently awaiting our special guest. He was going to be joining us today at 6 o'clock. The name is Jim Meskimen, in case you guys missed it on the social media posts. As of now, I have sent him a message as a reminder, but he is unavailable at the moment. So I'm hoping that he will join shortly. We're just going to go ahead and start filling in the time with just general Disney chit chat and the things that we love on a daily basis. First of all, let's go ahead and get into the people that are actually watching right now. We've got a few people in the audience. My dad is on. Mr. Odie Brady says hi, guys. Hey, Dad.
Hi,
how's
Odie.
it going? Good to see you as always. Our other number one fan, as he would say, but our number one fan is Patricia. Hello, Patricia.
Hi, Patricia.
It's good to see you on tonight.
Hi, Patricia.
My dad says I want snow, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. You don't have snow up there yet?
No, surprisingly, we do have snow, but in Wisconsin, it's like pathetic. We've only had like half a foot this whole entire year. Well, maybe a little more, but it's there. Yeah.
More like Wisconsin. Wishing for
snow. Wisconsin. Yeah. Winter's my favorite season, surprisingly. I know a lot of people don't like the cold, but I think it's magical. So.
I don't mind it. I mean, I've never lived in it before. I wouldn't mind living in it, but the better half of me says never. We will never live in a state where it snows.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Kind of limits the places we can choose when we decide to leave California. So.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. C. Andrew Nelson. He says greetings from the dark side. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Glad you're able to make it. He says
Hi,
he was
Andrew.
running some errands earlier and was going to try to make it. I'm glad to see his face. For those of you who joined late, we're still waiting for Jim to join us. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not, but we're just going to sort of fill the time improvisationally with our our smiling faces and the lovely talk of Disney, all things good and Disney and magic. Jerry Cornell is on. He says, hello.
Jerry,
hi.
Hi, Jerry. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Sarah is joining us again. She says, hey,
hi,
everyone.
Hey, Sarah.
And Dad says, I love hiking in the snow. Well,
you and me too, Odie.
How. Really? What is so pleasant about hiking in snow?
Oh, it's magical. It's like you hear the crunch of the snow, and if it's like the lights are dimming, it's like sparkling in the moonlight.
And when you get home and you peel your shoes and your socks off and your toes are black, you're still like enjoying the crunching of the snow?
No, then it's magical as well, because then you're like so cold, but you get to wrap yourself in a fuzzy blanket and like sip cocoa. It's just the whole experience is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that much. Well, speaking of snow, I wasn't planning on talking about this until later, but we'll have to save that for another time because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be introducing Mr. Jim Meskimen. Hey, Jim, welcome to the show. It's great to see you.
Hi. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Yes, I know. We have quite a large audience. Yeah. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Who have I got here? Thomas and Leah. Hi there.
Yes.
Hi, Jim.
Me
Nice
too.
Two
to
of
meet you.
my brilliant co-hosts and Disney enthusiasts alike, and I'm so glad you're able to make it. Thanks for joining.
Me too. I'm glad I could do it. It's a busy time, lots going on, but it's fun. Fun to talk to people, make new friends.
Yes.
We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, you've been a busy boy helping out with the fires and stuff down there. What's been going on with that? How's that going?
Yeah, we had a lot going on for sure. Well, we did a lot of volunteering to save our own butts and our family members, and then we did reach out and were able to do a little bit of charity work at a couple of the places that was distributing things to families that needed them. Did a little bit of that. Would like to do a lot more, but then I got super busy again. I'm working on a couple of TV shows in the next couple of weeks, so. It's just lots of stuff going on, but yeah, we're lucky. Our area, the wind blew the right way for us, but I saw, we did evacuate voluntarily a couple of nights just because I'd just never seen a glow of a fire in that direction of my house before. I've lived here a long time in Tarzana, and I've seen things over there and over there. There was something, but that's a little close. So we decided to hit the road, and we got out for a little while. But it was difficult, as I'm sure a lot of people can appreciate. You have your house and your things, and then you have maybe one of your parents, or you have a friend, and somebody that you're responsible for, and you have to oh criminy, where? And in our case, it was like, there was a very frantic time there where it was like, oh, now there's a fire here. Oh, there's one here. Oh, and there's one over there. So you're like, okay, where's the safest of the places that we have?
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of being nimble.
And I'm sure that the rain that happened down there, I think it was the beginning of last week. I was actually down in Anaheim, and it was snowing up in the Grapevine, and there was rain at least on Sunday. I think there was also some rain on Saturday too. So I'm hoping that kind of quenched a lot of the stuff that was still smoldering.
It did, and I think it handled a lot of. I mean, I don't have any statistics on this, but I mean, it had to. It rained steadily for days, and now we got more rain coming. So the fire is not going to be an issue, but there's plenty of other issues waiting for us. And just I've seen the videos, and I've not been to the area. Obviously, I've stayed away, but it's just crazy when you think about how much devastation there is. I don't think we have any. If you haven't been there, I don't think you can have any concept of what exactly happened.
Right.
It's a big area, right?
Are you familiar with Katie Von Till? We had her on the show a couple weeks ago. Yeah, she popped on. We were supposed to have her on for a full show, just like you, but she was kind of affected. She had to evacuate for a short period of time as well, like you, and unfortunately, there was a couple of friends who were affected by the fires. Their houses completely burned to the ground. So she just wasn't in the best of moods at that time, and she wasn't able to provide the kind of magic that she felt she wanted to give to the show. And we decided to reschedule her for when she gets back from a trip in, I think, April or something like that. But she was talking about that. And I know that we were at MouseCon recently in Bakersfield, and there was a lot of proceeds going towards the fire victims. And there was donations for blankets, clothes, food, and stuff like that. It felt really good. It was a good show, different than what I remember for other shows. Did you get the same kind of vibe when you were there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to as many cons as you have, I'm sure, but it was I think in general, people have been very, they're showing their best side. It's like, is it the movie Starman where the Jeff Bridges character says human beings are at their best when things are at their worst? I always thought that was a really good message. And it's true.
That's a great quote. Yeah, I've seen that movie many times.
Yeah.
The humanity comes out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that that's what it takes, but I get the message. I totally get the message. All right, well, let's shift gears. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, why we brought you on this show, and what do you do for a living? For those who don't know, tell them.
Well, I don't know why you brought me on the show, but I do know what I do for a living. And I'm finding out who I am by being an artist. I've been an artist all my life of one kind or another. I grew up in a family that had a working actress mom who was on a popular television show of the 70s called Happy Days. My mom is Marion Ross, who played Mrs. C, if anybody remembers that show. And I grew up being very encouraged to participate in any art form I was interested in. And I find that makes me kind of rare. I think not enough kids are given the support and encouragement that I was given by my very lovely, wonderful mom. So I grew up drawing and cartooning and loving that and finding that to be a nice entryway for me into the world of art and entertainment. And, as a kid, you're like trying to figure out, wow, there's this outside world and there are people and jobs and stuff. And how do I fit in there? I have this little body. I have no influence. Nobody listens to me. I don't even remember how to write. I all the stuff I don't know how to do. How do I find my way? And I found cartooning for me, as it is for a lot of people, I was something I could do on my own, in my own space, sometimes in class when I should have been doing something else, and often I would say, but that was a way for me to then exchange that. People would see it and they would go, oh, and there would be a little conversation that would start because of that, and they would go, oh, I wonder, can you draw this, and will you do this for our this and that, and I would do things for school. Some of the earliest paying jobs I ever had were because I was an artist.
What did you enjoy drawing, Jim? Like, what were some of your favorite things to draw as a kid?
Well, a lot of boys like to draw cars and weapons and stuff like that, and planes, and I didn't. I like to draw funny creatures and animals and stuff like Mad Magazine. Since I got a little older, I'm like, oh man, I like the way that tie looks and that jacket. I like, and
Awesome.
I love Pogo and faces, a lot of faces and stuff. I was very annoying. And so that actually became my first career, was as a cartoonist illustrator, which I'd racked up so many hours doing it on my own, and occasionally I'd get paid for it, but mostly I did it because I just loved it. And kind of shy, so it's like I fell into that very easily. And then when I moved to New York, I found that the skill set that I had amassed was enough to get me into the doorway of a professional career, and then my own kind of earnestness and chutzpah and extreme need helped to span the gap, and so I could begin working that way, and that in a roundabout way got me into animation as a voice actor.
Wow.
So I have a question for you, because I did kind of peek into your animation history, and there's one specific show that came to mind that I know that you worked on, and it's one that was very dear to my heart when I was growing up, was Thundercats.
Thundercats, yeah. So Jules Bass of Rankin Bass hired me to work on Thundercats back when it was just beginning production in 1985 or 84. I can't remember exactly, but and I after doing several things, I eventually became the character designer for the show for any new characters that came in, and there were a lot. There were a lot of guest stars every week, and there were weapons and vehicles and animals and plants that talked and weird things, as you know, probably from watching the show. And so they had one artist in the building. That was me. And the rest of the work was done in the Pacific Rim by people that really knew what they were doing. But I did the preliminary design work for about a year for that show, and 100 plus episodes. And it was fantastic. And it also showed me too, because one day they said, hey, do you want to go to one of the recordings and see the cast work? And I was like, yeah. And they knew I was an actor, and I wanted that I had designs on being an actor. So they invited me, and I saw all these great Larry Kenney and all these great actors in Thundercats do their thing. And I remember the moment of looking at it, and they were having such a good time. just like anybody, when you see voice actors together, which you see often at cons and panels and stuff, see them and they're just messing around and having a great time, and they're just playing. They're grown-ups, some of them gray-haired, some of them, with eyeglasses as thick as bottle bottoms, and they're just having a great time, and they're like kids.
Yeah.
That seemed really attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was another reason why I liked MouseCon so much in Bakersfield, because there was a lot of, like, even Sam Kwansman was there, and Caitlin was there, and of course Katie, like we talked about, and they were all just playing with their voices to everybody. I mean, I was walking around and I would hear Snow White, and then I would hear Donald Duck, and then I would hear the little Ducky character from the Tom and Jerry cartoons, and then of course, I would hear Minnie Mouse.
You could play Genie every now and then, sure.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I was not going to ask you to do anything, but you are so well known for being a voice impersonator. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but I kind of want to go back a little bit to because you were talking about your animation career, and then you kind of you shifted over to acting from there. Now, I don't know how true this is, because I get a lot of my information from Wikipedia and IMDb, and I don't know how all that gets entered by fans or by somebody on your end. But there was an interaction that you had with Harvey Keitel that apparently kind of helped push you in that direction. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I love to talk about it. It's a very significant moment in my life. So I had this sort of these two ambitions where I wanted to be a painter or an artist, a visual artist, and I wanted to be an actor. And they seemed to be in conflict a little bit, because in college, how in college they go, well, what's your major? And you're like, oh, well, I guess I have to pick a major. And that's, and I, even though I went to Santa Cruz, which was very kind of counterculture and didn't make such requirements, there was still that kind of feeling like, well, I should really kind of decide what it is that I'm going to do. And my perception was that I could not do both things properly or well. So, but it was a bit of a Sophie's choice, and I could not discard one. And so I had this kind of back and forth. So I would do a play for a while, and I would concentrate on being an actor, and then I would go into the sculpture department and hang out there, and I'd paint for a while. And then I actually wound up going to Spain to study art I was invited to go with a Spanish master that I'd studied with. And that was a very significant period too. And I studied realist oil painting, old master technique. Very difficult. And it was 100% immersion. I mean, I didn't do anything else. I just lived and breathed that for about a year or two. And then, I still did, when I was back in California, I would still audition and get in a play too, because my friends were the theater students and, the girls and stuff, and people I wanted to hang out with. And I liked to perform. But I didn't take classes. I didn't say, oh, I'm a theater major. I didn't participate in that aspect of it at all. I would just audition. And since I was good at voices and accents, I would get in these plays because I was so freaking useful, and play old characters and stuff like that. So, I made myself very useful that way. And but I still had this kind of crazy back and forth. Anyway, I went to Spain the last time I was there, and I had an epiphany, a moment of clarity in Madrid when I ran into, quite literally almost collided with the actor Harvey Keitel, who was there in Madrid. This is 1983, I think, in the spring. And he was walking up the road, and I had just seen him in a film, and I was aware of him as an actor, and I recognized him, and I stopped him and I talked to him. And after that interchange, I know Harvey Keitel, he talks like this. He asked me some nice things. He was very friendly. And what I was doing, and, I'm an actor. Yeah, of course, I'm filming a movie here in Madrid. I'll be here for a little while. I'm staying over here and blah, blah, blah. Just a short conversation. And I noticed that after I left him and he went his way and I went mine, my heart was just banging out of my chest. I was so exhilarated by the moment. Yeah, and I had the presence of mind to go, wow, well, that's an interesting reaction. And then I could step back and go, this acting stuff is really kind of important to me.
Yeah.
So I started penny kind of dropped, and I went, well, all right, I'm going to move to New York. So essentially that day, I decided, I wonder if I could go back to New York. And I had never lived in New York before. So it was like a big jump. I knew about 3 people there. And had really no contacts there to speak of, but I decided to pack up and go.
Wow.
I'm guessing you were like in your 20s at this point?
Yeah, I was 22 or 23.
So you knew pretty early, even though you had family that was already doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but a lot of guys like a lot of people, they started off as child actors, and it would have been very easy for me to have started about 4 years earlier, because but I just didn't know. I wasn't sure. I really was still holding this precious thing, which was my artistic impulse and creative outlet. That was like really super precious to me. I'm like, I'm going to go back to school. I still want to learn how to paint. It was like an early thing. I was like, and the acting thing, I also hadn't sorted out, well, what's honorable about acting anyway? Because I could see the money thing, I could see the glamour thing. My mom was on a hit show. I saw her as a working stiff actress who was a single mom raising 2 kids. I saw that looked like hard work. And then I saw her escalate and slowly become part of a machine, just a juggernaut, which was Happy Days back in the day, and Ron Howard, all those guys. And that became like a phenomenon that really that kind of thing doesn't exist much anymore. With the way that entertainment is structured. So I got, frankly, pretty confused, because I was like, I'm really attracted to this, but I'm not sure why. Is it because I'm so shallow? And, when you're 20, 21, 22, you're constantly just kicking the chalks out from under yourself, going, I'm a big fraud. I'm a big phony, because, and so that took me a while to just sort out. And then I finally realized, no, the thing about acting that's honorable, that's worth devoting a section of your life to, if not, all of it, is that it's good and decent to want to share a great experience you've had. So I've seen great performers that have exhilarated me, that I'll never forget. I've seen great performances and great moments in movies and stage shows, and if I could create that effect on another person, that would be a nice thing to do.
It would be. And it is.
Absolutely.
It is, to see the reaction. I mean, I know how I feel when I watch the shows that I enjoy.
Right.
I know
Yeah.
the feeling that it gives me, and I know that it makes me happy. It takes me away from the real world, which I really like to do a lot of nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I like doing it. But and the thing that I learned, I mean, because you said you were figuring all this out in your 20s. The thing that's awesome about acting, or even voice acting for that matter, it's never too late. And it's something that you can do pretty much whenever you want to. I mean, you have to practice and learn, and discover what you can and cannot do, obviously. But it's very well said. Yeah. And
With something that you said, actually,
well said, Jim.
I heard this one concept and it was really cool. And it's like, wow, this is such a gift that a person can give as an actor, voice actor, anything. It's called cinetherapy. And it's pretty much a person watches a movie and they resonate with a character. They see like their life, and they can feel heard or seen or even inspired. They'll see that person going through something they're going through. And when that person triumphs, they're like, whoa, this is something that I could do. And it actually empowers them and makes them feel good. And that kind of reminds me of what you were talking about.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the great things that art can do. Yeah.
I was going to ask, I'm actually an actor, voice actor living in LA, just starting out, but I was just going to ask if you had any tips or advice as far as like me starting my journey in my 30s, and any
well, first go to Madrid.
I had that on my list. Great.
Meet Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, or really any of the old New York actors. It's not important.
Sure.
I get asked this a lot, and I'll tell you what I tell everybody is that you you are a voice actor, right? You are a voice artist. So the game is to reach a critical mass of people understanding that that's what you are and that's who you are. Mm-hmm. And that's rather simpler to do now than it used to be with social media and with streaming and everything. So I say get super busy making your own stuff, demonstrating to the world and to yourself, perhaps, what it is you're good at, what you love to do, and then at the same time finding what it is that people really appreciate and giving them more of that. So make a lot of content. And what I find is helpful is to set yourself some goals, some targets. Like this is what I did when I first started with YouTube content back in, I think it was 2009, which seems like 3 weeks ago, but it's a long time ago. I said, all right, finally the technology got simple enough, where you actually just press one button and, okay, great. And I set myself the task of doing a video a day for 2 weeks. At first, it was very painful. Like that seemed like really a lot. Today, I think people are more used to making content. Back then, it was like, what do I say? What do I do? I don't look right. I don't feel good. And there was all these sort of prerequisites that were impossible to meet. So, but my point is that by setting a target and saying, well, I will do a demo of my top 3 voices, a minute and a half demo of some kind. And I will do one a day for X amount of time. And then actually hold on to that and do that. And then share that with people any way you want, whether you're just saying, well, I'm only going to show it to these 5 people, or I'm only going to show it to these people in my family, or I'm only going to show these guys that I know in college, or, well, maybe I'll put it on Twitter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a big leap, but whatever it is, you got to get it out there because
Very
as I said,
advice.
thank you. But as I was saying, you are that person. You're at whatever stage of your career and your ability, you've decided, well, I want to throw myself into this. This is something I want to dedicate a certain amount of my life and attention to. Now, more people must know this, and the way you do that is you remind them. And that is all what marketing is to me. Marketing is reminding people. This is not a very good definition, but there's more to it than that. But a big part of it is reminding people that you're alive and that this is what you do and that this is how you do it. And then also where they find you, in case they actually want to engage you. And that the opportunities will come up where they're just like, well, I don't have any money, but I would love for this to be a message for my wife. And I'm like, okay, good, I'll do it. We don't have any money. It's just a church group, but would you come and announce the thing and do a little? Sure. You'll get a lot of kind of free, gratis kind of things. And that's fine.
Like our show. And I do appreciate that, by the way, because there's a lot of people that would not say yes to a volunteered hour. So I definitely do appreciate your time.
Wait a minute, volunteered hour.
We'll talk about it after the show, Jim.
Goodness gracious. No, yeah. So it's like I still do that today. When things get slow, I'll go on to social media and go, hey, next 25 people that will like a free message from a celebrity in a celebrity voice, go to jimmeskimen.com and I'll do it for you. I just did it recently. I said, anybody that wants to send a message to a friend who's been affected by the fire, and you want to send them something funny for them on their phone, I'll do it. Absolutely. No problem. And I got, quite a few requests and it was lovely. And,
so awesome.
And you make friends and then people begin to go, oh yeah, I know. When I first started in New York, there was like the prevalent attitude was, well, in the world of voiceover, there's about 10 guys. They do all the work and it's hard to break in. And I heard that spoken like a hypnotic command all over town by actors who were making themselves comfortable. And I thought to myself, after I'd heard it about the 10th time, I went, everybody says this. I don't think it's true. I think it's crap because everybody's saying it. It can't be true. It doesn't stand up to much scrutiny. So nobody knew who I was. but I began to make sure that people had an opportunity to know who I was. I would send out cassettes. I even spent a lot of time, I remember very well, composing something amusing on my old phone answering machine that I had in my house with the little tapes. I had 15 seconds there. I would do a little demo. It would be a little show, of some kind, and I would change it a lot. And then I would wait for people to call. And eventually my mother would call or somebody would call. But so now you can actually get very well known very quickly, which, takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of discretion. But if you go, well, you know what? Here's some voices I like to do. And you think of it from the viewpoint of like, what would another person actually want to sit through? If it was me, what would I give 10 or 15 seconds of my time to?
Like that social intelligence. Yeah. And no, Jim, it's really true because Jason told me we were having you and I'm like, wait, the TikTok guy? Like, so you got yourself on TikTok and I absolutely knew who you were and it was very exciting. So yeah, the branding yourself out there, that makes sense.
I worked on a movie. Thank you. I worked on a movie in November and they flew me to Malta, which is in the Mediterranean, to work for 3 weeks on a thrilling survival adventure film. And when I got off the plane at midnight in Malta from Munich, an old gentleman came up to me and said, "Do I know you from TikTok?" And he's this
awesome.
Big retired real estate guy in Malta who knew who I was. And then we met up and he took me on a tour of the harbor. It was like we were instant friends.
Wow.
It was really
It's gotta
sweet.
be a great feeling. I love
It
that.
was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I tell the story all the time. It was great.
All right. Well, we're about a half an hour into our show and we haven't even talked anything Disney yet. So I think we should probably go ahead and get into that. And I know you have done some characters for Disney here and there. Like I've got a short list, but you can tell me if there's anything else that you've done. I've got Genie. I've got Ultron from the Avengers. I've got Mortimer Mouse, the Mad Doctor from Epic Mickey 2, a video game that I've played before.
Yeah.
Merlin the Wizard, and Eeyore from Once Upon a Studio. Merlin and Wizard, you did the voices for them on Once Upon a Studio.
Nice.
Right. That's right.
That's phenomenal. So
awesome.
What was your first Disney voice that let me just ask, what's your first Disney gig that you ever got?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it might have been that Mortimer Mouse. That's the earliest one. I mean, it's hard to know because there's so many Disney shows. I may have worked on camera on a Disney show that I didn't realize was Disney or whatever. But in the great pantheon of all those Walt Disney characters, I would say Mortimer Mouse for Disney character voices for some sort of, I think it was a short. And that's where I met Ben Hoppy from Disney Character Voices, and we became such great friends. And Mortimer Mouse is not a character that obviously has had really captured the imagination of generations of children, but he did exist, and he was an early flagship kind of character for Disney. And I had to research it, and see what does he sound like. Now, if you ask me today, the only thing I remember he would say, "Do you like this button?" It was some weird line like that. "How about this button?" And I don't know, but I would have to study it all over again. But it was, and I think that was my first one. And then I would do little things from time to time. But I started to work really regularly for them with the Ultron character, and then earlier than that with the Genie character. I've been doing the Genie character, I think, from around 2008 on. Long before, while Robin was still alive and everything. But it was after Dan Castellaneta had done the Genie character for quite some time for the Aladdin show.
Oh, he was the voice?
On the series, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But as I have heard it, he's brilliant. But as I've heard it, they kind of recast for. I mean, Dan's a busy man and doesn't need the money, and he didn't have to do all the kind of stuff that I do, which are mostly kind of ancillary things, parades, toys, video games, and stuff like that, which are all fun, but he doesn't need to do that. He did a very creative role, which was a series part. But at that time, as I've heard, he was discouraged, if not prohibited, from doing a Robin impression or doing the Robin Genie, but he was creating his own Genie, which had a lot of the same dynamics of changing characters and doing accents and impressions and stuff.
Sure.
But then they put out another casting call for these other ancillary uses, and they were like, you know what, for whatever reason, and I still don't know why, that particular barrier is relaxed. Now we actually kind of would like to evoke Robin. And so that's why I got my foot in the door. My a person who became my agent, but who wasn't my agent at the time, Pat Brady, said, I'm going to submit you for this. And I went, that would be great. Terrific. And I got the part. And it's been really a lovely kind of thing to inherit and to keep going. And it's survived. I mean, I just did it not too long ago. So I don't know if anybody's doing the Will Smith Genie, but it isn't me. And they still have a lot of uses for that original OG Genie.
He's beloved. Yeah.
When I close my eyes when you're doing Robin Williams, I can picture his face. I mean, that's all I hear. It's like,
well, remind me never to do it while you're driving me to the airport.
And your improvisational skills are amazing too. I mean, you're going to get a lot of compliments tonight, but I'm a big fan of yours automatically just by all of that.
Thank you.
Did you ever get a chance to meet Robin before he had passed?
I did. I met him in the 90s at LAX one time.
Just an airport thing, huh?
Yeah, quick airport thing.
Wow.
Never, I was looking forward to maybe meeting him and working with him on something. There was some talk about working with him in the 80s. It never happened. And of course, my mom worked with him on Happy Days. He got his Mork originated on Happy Days. It's such a surreal thing.
Amazing.
It was.
Wow.
I used to love both of those shows. I got a couple of questions here, both from Andrew. And the first one is, what's the oddest voice gig you ever did or was ever offered?
The one that always comes to mind, I've done many weird gigs, but the one that comes to mind is in New York, when I was just starting out, I worked a lot in radio commercials. And there were men and women who were kind of the old guard of voiceover, and these are people who'd been working in radio for 40 plus years, and they were still there, still coming to work, still doing stuff, and they were just famous, amazing people, and they were like the gods of that trade. And one day I found myself in a recording studio with about 6 or 7 of them, and they were all of them just like legendary people. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And we're all kind of like, and what is this? But trust me, this was what we had, all these great voice artists and myself here. And what we were being asked to do was this.
Really?
Seemed like overkill to me, but
yeah,
that was the weirdest.
Wow.
We have a funny story. I know that Andrew and I have talked to you about Adventurous Ideas, the company that him and his buddy Jerry formed for the audio shows, which Leia is also a part of as well.
Oh, cool.
She's a writer and she's a voice actress, singer, very talented as well. Jerry says my volume is very low. Let me turn up my gain a little bit. Hopefully that's a little bit better. No? Maybe it's Jerry, turn up your speakers.
Jerry. You gotta turn up your speakers, Jerry.
Yes. What was I saying? Totally lost my train of thought. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh no, technical problems.
You were saying with Adventurous Ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, and I have no idea where I was going with that train of thought. Oh, because you were talking about I can't even do it, But Jerry has a cameo appearance in one of our audio shows that is similar to that. You will not be able to tell it's him, but he's in one of the because he's not a voice actor. He's a writer, and he's mostly the writer. He's the pen, I think, is what we call him. Is that right, Leia? Do you remember that we call him the pen, or is Andrew the pen? And
is he the paper or the script, or?
I think he's the pen and Andrew is the ink. That's what they've dubbed themselves as.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's funny that we actually have like something similar to that in one of our shows where it's somebody doing a noise. I won't say what it is because the show hasn't even come out yet. But when it does, it'll be a fun little Easter egg. And
Yeah.
Andrew, actually, I think your question's already been answered. The other question he had was, since Mork and Mindy was a spinoff of Happy Days, did you ever meet Robin Williams? And we covered that at the airport visit. So,
Jim, what was that noise for? Like the mouth noise. What was it for in a show
I
or
remember.
cartoon?
It was for a radio commercial of some kind. Yeah,
Oh, radio. Okay.
I don't remember. Yeah.
figure that kind of stuff they can use like a Foley artist for or something like that. They actually wanted to get voice actors for it, huh?
I have no idea. You know, sometimes they go somebody to protect themselves goes, well, I'll get this really expensive person, and and I'll tell everybody, well, look who we got. And like, oh,
right. And also starring Jim Meskimen as the voice of.
Yeah, it was a very special one.
Jerry says maybe I should have my earbuds on since it's plugged in. That's a good idea, Jerry. That's probably the reason why it's so quiet. He's hearing me through his earbuds, which are not even in his ears.
Oh, Jerry,
That's lovely. Jerry.
Jim, fun question. When did you figure out you could do Robin Williams, and did it come super easily, or did you have to practice for a little bit?
Well,
it is flawless. Yeah.
Well, thanks. Well, that's kind. I mean, you know, when you listen to Robin Williams, and you listen to me side by side, you can see, you know, just how much more there is with the original, as with any impression. But I provide, I think, enough to evoke and to kind of present him and bring him back a little bit and bring that character back. But I guess, you know, I don't know when it was. I have a strong familiarity and conversance with my own equipment and what sounds I can make and things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know at some point, I mean, I saw a lot of movies that he was in, and I really loved all this dramatic work. I'm sort of a bigger fan of his dramatic acting even than I am of like his stand-up comedy. I'm
like Good Will Hunting and such.
Yeah. That kind of skill that he had. I thought he was a very beautiful actor, and I absorbed a lot of that, and I detected in him as there's a kind of a reservation of his voice. In other words, he buries his voice inside his body. He's he's kind of a big guy, and a lot of that comes from. I mean, you hear different people talk like this, and a lot of them went to Juilliard, and he went to Juilliard. It seems to be a kind of an accent that they had, or a sort of a placement that's just acceptable. It's like, you know, people who go to different schools or live in different parts of the country, they kind of take on different kind of characteristics vocally, because that's how we all talk here. That's why if you go to England, there's a very strong demarcation between all these different districts that generations doesn't seem to be able to dull. So I suspect it might be that, but also he just chose to be that way. And there's a wonderful kind of factor of the delivery. I mean, it sort of presents a voice and ideas and things that you feel invited in. You feel like inviting him in. You know, he's got something silly to say, but it's way over here. You haven't got it yet. Meantime, he's going to kind of grease the line and sort of make everything seem fine, and then he's going to spring it on you, and it's going to be an armadillo.
Yeah, exactly. My dad mentioned the movie August Rush. Is that in kind of like the lines of that you were going for the like is that Harvard movie or something like that? Or I
don't recall I saw August Rush. I don't know that one, but Goodwill. What's the other one? Dead Poets Society. I mean, it's a great.
Oh, definitely.
Dead
Yes.
Poets Society. Yeah.
Those are some of the serious ones, and definitely Goodwill Hunting. Amazing movie.
Love
heavy. Very heavy, but very good. And one of my favorites of his is Patch Adams. It was brilliant, where he's the doctor, the funny doctor, and everything.
Yeah. When I was in Malta, I visited Popeye's Village. Of course, he was in the Popeye movie.
Oh, I loved him in Popeye.
Yeah, and Popeye's Village has been preserved and is this tourist attraction on the coast.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can look it up online. It is really charming. It's a funny little place because it's got all the trappings of a theme park with none of the high-tech stuff. I mean, it's old. Really low tech. It's like ropes and pieces of wood and you know, and a beach, and it's just super fun and charming. And they've got actors there portraying all the people in the movie, and they've got but I mean, you have to, like, as opposed to like Disneyland, you'll appreciate makes very good use of any opportunity to sell a toy or a tchotchke. And at this place, I was searching around in vain for some place to buy something. It was buried away. Well, the gift shop, I think, is over there. You had like about 4 items. I'm like, oh my God, you're really an opportunity here.
They
anyway,
should have a can of spinach there.
Oh
man,
gross.
they could have had so much more stuff. They had like T-shirts and some buttons and like, oh man, you could have. I wanted to get a nice Popeye hat, and they were like, these hats are terrible.
It's like, is there a secret menu somewhere? It's like
right.
With spinach in it, yeah, exactly. And we'll call it, and I will have mine Popeye style, please.
Yeah, wouldn't mind,
yeah. Patricia says it's also amazing to me how your facial features match with the vocal impersonation too, Jim. And I agree. You have a very Jim Carrey-ish way of, see, there it is. There's Popeye right there. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's not just that. It's not just that. When you do Biden, when you do, like Bush.
Joe Biden. You're talking about Joe Biden.
Right, Joe Biden, yes.
I wasn't sure if you meant Raymond Biden.
No. Not right. Focus, Joe. Focus. Remember where you are.
Yeah.
Read the room.
Now go take your pills. All right. No, never mind. Sorry. It's going down a rabbit hole. But I have a question about that because I know a lot of comedians, voice impersonators, voice actors will actually do their voices while looking in a mirror just so they can kind of see the character come to life. Is that something that you do as well?
I don't, but I think that's very, very good tool. I don't really care too much what I look like, I guess. So, but I've heard that from many people that there is something that happens. I think part of it is, well, for me, the main thing is that I'm an actor, right? So when I want to be somebody, I try to become them for a moment. And that's a whole 360-degree thing. That's like, posture and carriage and volume and all this stuff wrapped up in being another person, right? And so that, gets reflected in the way I hold myself and the way I hold my face and where the sound is coming from, for example. And so there's a transformation of a kind that takes place. Luckily, it wears off. But the other part of it is that I think the other half of that is, and maybe as much as 50%, who knows, it's immeasurable, but is that the audience starts to provide it for you. The audience is like a filter. Mm-hmm. And when they hear you start to do Robert De Niro, they're already sort of, they put it on you too. So you got a combination. It's like 2 layers of things that help to create that illusion and that's how we get to have fun with it. The audience can contribute to it. The audience knows I'm not Robert De Niro or Robin Williams, but they are willing to make me that person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter is a huge influence in the videos that you do. She's the one that's always filming you, and I see hey, Dad, do an impersonation of Jim Biden ordering a meal at McDonald's, or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
How much of does she do the same kind of? Is she an actress or any of the sort?
Wonderful actress. She's a wonderful narrator and voice artist herself. She's narrated scores of books in a booth like this one. And she's a singer and a songwriter, and
that's wonderful.
We're thick as thieves around here. And those are all off the cuff. I mean, her job every week is to kind of ambush me and come up with a concept, and then we throw them up on. Sometimes I think, well, that was pretty stupid, but she puts it up, and we just had another viral hit. 3 million plus views for this Joe Biden thing I did. Mm-hmm. It was a great idea. It was a great concept. Joe Biden explaining the plot to Star Wars.
Yeah, I just watched that one yesterday. Actually,
great idea. Now, if I'd taken the time to think about it, it probably wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah,
but you just pounced in it, and I just have to kind of fight my way out. I think that's probably what audiences like. They see me thrashing around and they enjoyed
Yeah.
seeing solve it or not solve it or whatever.
The great thing about that impersonation is you don't really have to think. All you have to do is just know Star Wars
Improv.
and
It's like that George W. Bush back in the used to was days.
yeah.
It was,
There was Star Wars back
similar.
then too, yeah.
There was some Reagan Star Wars.
Reagan Star Wars, that's right. Yeah. For real.
And
I
so
actually saw
yeah,
a news article today. There's a U.S. Navy vessel that actually has a laser beam it can fire to destroy drones. Believe it or not, we're getting back into the Star Wars era again.
yeah, I think I saw that at Costco the other day.
They got everything, don't they?
Everything, they got everything.
Yeah, you go in for like a big patch of bagels, and you walk out with a gigantic 90 megawatt laser.
I had to get this laser,
Right, I had to get the laser,
And it was in a pack of 5.
right,
couldn't say no.
exactly.
Jim, have you and your daughter ever done a show or a cartoon together? Like, have you
Yeah.
been hired? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, a few times we've worked together, and my wife too, because my wife is also a wonderful actress. So we've done a lot of voices for a delightful series, a couple different series by the Storybots. Have you heard of the Storybots? It's on
No.
Netflix. Great series for kids, educational, funny, fun, creative, brilliant, by two guys that I have worked with for 20 years called the Spiridellis brothers. And they were the ones who did the Jib Jab cartoons, the stop motion things, which broke the internet back in 2003 or whatever. And I've been working with them ever since. And we both, all three of us, our whole family has created voices and done characters for that Ask the Storybots show on
I have to
Netflix.
look into that.
Great for kids. Great. It's just, and adults too.
Sounds
But
like a dream.
it's got puppets and cell animation and 3D animation and live action and it's just genius.
Speaking of
Love
breaking the
that.
internet, I got to pop Jerry's comment on here. I love watching Star Wars with the Enterprise, Captain Vulcan, and the police elevator. Yeah, no, Jerry. I know he's just joking, but them's fighting words to some people.
Oh,
Wars have begun that way.
war! Let's not have war here. Not here.
I
Not
got
on
a
this
couple of
podcast.
questions. I got a couple of questions for you. I'm gonna have. There's one more question Jerry had, and then we're gonna be getting close to wrapping up here. But and this is something that I've actually been asking my guests because I learned with one of my guests that even though I have a Disney show and you've done Disney characters and Disney voices and stuff like that, are you an actual Disney fan?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm not a big consumer of Disney stuff at the moment because I don't have any grandchildren. And I don't make it a point to, even though I probably should as a professional, see the new Disney stuff. But the contribution of the Disney company and that vision and that aesthetic to my life, particularly growing up, is just incalculable. I mean, when I think about the magical promise of when you walk into Disneyland, or when you were a kid and you walk into it, it's something that doesn't really, it changes character a little bit as you get older. But there's an underlying steady, unquenchable current of magic that runs through that, and that it gave me all kinds of joy as a young person. And I think it's done. I know that it's done that for, I don't know, billions of people. So a lot of respect. And I think when they really stick to that message, when they really cleave to that message, they do their best work. And it's hard to top because it is really tapping into something that everybody recognizes is a very potent source of what we could call magic and not be inaccurate.
I need to bottle what you just said and
Yeah.
make it the new opening video of my podcast, because that's the exact reason I named it Main Gate Magic, because when you walk in those front gates, something changes in you. It's something you feel something different. You feel like you're just, everything that is normal in the world is gone. Whether it's crazy, chaotic, sad, presidencies or politics or social media nonsense, everything just disappears.
Yep. Yeah.
And you feel like that little kid again. And at least for me, that's the same way. And I'm glad that you said it that way, because that is a very positive message, and I appreciate that as well.
You're welcome.
And then Jerry also said, what type of character haven't you done that you would like to do?
This is silly, but what comes to mind, I'll just tell you what pops in my head first, is that I never get hired to play a French character. And it's, for me, this is so silly because I know many French people. I have worked extensively to perfect French accent, but for some reason I would never get the nod. Somebody else always is getting this. So for me, one day it will be the happy day of, at last we allow you to do this French accent.
The happy day?
Any pun intended there? Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, every time I do a French accent, it always sounds like Lumiere. From Beauty and the Beast. So.
That's a good one to evoke, for sure.
It is, for sure. Be my guest. All right, well, we're kind of at the end of our hour. Do you guys have any other questions you want to ask Jim before we let him go for the evening? This has been so much fun. And again, I can't believe it's been an hour already.
I just want to say thank you, and I hope I get to work with you someday on set somewhere. So if I do, I'll try to bring the voices and we'll have fun.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Great talking to you.
Final words.
Yeah, Jim, you said this at the beginning of the show, but I think it was so huge to hear that you loved art so much, but that one moment where you said Harvey talked to you, and it sounds like you just listened to that very highest part of yourself that was like the voiceover just went out, or acting went out just a little bit more. And I think it's so important to listen to that part of your heart and your deepest desires. Like, it's very admirable that you listen to that part, because look what it's brought you in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah. And now, of course, as a seasoned old dusty person, I realize, well, you can do more than one thing. You can plan your life and you can actually embrace two things. But it is good to know, well, what is my main thing, and be at peace with it, because there's a lot of strength in that. I know people that have known what they wanted to do since they were like 3, and they've just plowed on, and they've made incredible progress, and they've done amazing things. My mom was such a one. She wanted to be an actress since she was very young, and that was all she ever wanted to do. And I could see, well, there's a lot of power in that. But if you can't figure it out, you just keep kicking around and keep experiencing it like I did, and let me try this. Let me see what this is like. And eventually you go, well, I've amassed quite a lot of data now, and I think I can make a decision. So
yeah.
Well, you've put across some great messages here tonight, Jim. Is there anything that you wanted to promote, or anything that you wanted to say? This is kind of like a time to plug anything that you would like to. I know you've got your website on your name there, jimmeskimen.com. So if anybody wants to know more,
please join. Get on my mailing list. Now, one thing I am doing for the fires again is I did a live show, my Jimpression show, which is an hour and 15 minutes of impressions and stories and music and all kinds of fun stuff. And I did that at the Gary Marshall Theater last September. And it was the 50th anniversary of Happy Days. And I leaned into my slender Happy Days connection and talked about that period a lot, and about those performers and that experience. And we did a video of it, and that video is now available to be seen. And my deal is that I'm not charging any money for it, but if you want to watch that video, and it's very nice and very entertaining, go to jimmeskimen.com and get on my mailing list and send me proof that you've made some sort of contribution to the Wildfire Fund or the Red Cross or something having to do with that disaster, and I will send you the link and the password, and you can watch the video.
That's so cool.
That's amazing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
like a little screen grab or something that says, "Hey, I gave $10 to the Wildfire Fund," or Red
or
Cross.
maybe a receipt for some donated blankets or
Yeah,
clothing
anything
or
like that,
something
just
like
so I
that.
know,
Yeah.
so we have some exchange, and that's
Sure.
another thing I'm doing to try to help.
Fantastic. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
doing that.
Thank you so much.
And thanks again for being on the show. This was a lot of fun. I would love to have you back sometime. This was, I mean, I feel
That's
like
a
we could
deal.
talk. Yeah.
We'll do
Okay.
it. You
Perfect.
talk me into it. You wore me down.
It only took like
You're
one
committed.
question or one sentence. Thank you so much for taking your time off and enjoying us. It seems like a lot of people, I don't know if you saw the comments popping up, but they enjoyed the show this evening as well.
I'm so glad. That's great.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. And we'll be
I'll
sure
see you
to
at a
do it
con. I'll
again.
see you at a mouse con, Jason.
Definitely. I met everyone, so if you end up coming to the one in either Utah or Concord or even back in Bakersfield next year, I will more than likely be there. And
Nice.
happy to see
Right.
you again.
All right. Thanks
All
so
right.
much. It was great talking to you, Thomas and Leah.
Well, nice talking to you
You too,
too.
Jim.
All right.
Thanks again, Jim. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining the show, and we will see you again next Tuesday. Good night.